love that we're doing this. Sorry, I started laughing before she was done because I knew the ending.
I'm doing a video at Howard Hanna Insurance. You met a little bit about them at the convention when I interviewed Danielle Shearer, and I'm here at Howard Hanna Insurance Services. I'm going to talk to Danielle today. Now I'm going to go into Danielle Shearer's office. She's the Vice President and the General Manager of Insurance, and ask her a few insurance questions. Hi, I'm here with Danielle Shearer. We're going to talk about insurance. Danielle, help me out with some things.
Of course.
I sell houses for a living, and I want to know, I have people tell me all the time, why do I need homeowners insurance?
Oh goodness, I know, and that is a question that we get often. Well, the number one reason typically is because you have a mortgage. If you have a mortgage, you're required to carry homeowners insurance. However, the other side of that is you definitely, even without a mortgage, want to keep homeowners insurance in place.
What if your house burns down?
You have a house burned down, but it's not just for the property side. A lot of people forget about the liability side. There's two sides of a homeowner's policy. There's the property and the liability. You want to keep the liability in place. That's protecting all of your assets just as much as the property side.
Assets meaning, like, what if a dog bites someone who comes into your house?
That would be a liability claim. And that is actually, at least years ago, that was the number one liability claim across the nation.
What do you think it is now? Do you know what?
On the stats, I would say one or two still. Because dog bite claims too linger on. You know, there's lasting effects from that. And typically, who do dogs bite? Little children. Typically. So, and yeah,
really
so it's a big lawsuits.
Okay.
So you want to protect, and in assets also people forget about is 401k plans. They forget that they can tap into that after it becomes liquid.
Really?
Yes. So people are like, but that's protected. It's not after it becomes liquid. People can still take from you.
Oh my. All right. So, are there ways to save on? You know, everybody wants to shop. Are there ways to save on homeowners insurance?
Of course, yes. Okay. Of course, you want to make sure that you add additional policies. So, for instance, the biggest way to save is through multi-policy discounts. So, you want to add auto if you have other recreational vehicles. When you add those, you get a pretty substantial discount on your homeowner's policy for adding those. But the other things that help are updated roofs, the maintenance of your home.
Really important. This leads into my question of, as an agent, should I be giving you the home inspection as my insurer?
That would be wonderful if we got that up front, because it gives us, we already know, that's one of the great things about being connected with the Howard Hanna Real Estate and our real estate agents, because we already know a lot about the home to make sure that we're properly protecting it. However, having that information up front does help us as well with discounts.
Is it detrimental?
It's not detrimental.
Okay.
No, it's not detrimental because the insurance company also does their own inspection after the fact.
Okay, so.
And they are looking for different things. That's a another big question we get. Well, I had an inspection done prior to purchasing. Why are they inspecting now? And now they're telling me different things. The insurance company is going to look for different things.
You know what? This has been so great. Why don't we go and have a cup of coffee and talk a little bit more? I have a bunch of questions.
I'd love that.
Great. But coffee first. Here we are. Okay, so a few more questions.
No problem.
All right. I have one that's kind of important to me. Okay. Let's talk about deductibles.
Okay.
Does a high deductible make a difference from a low deductible?
Yes, absolutely. It does as far as premium goes, and as far as what you're going to pay out of pocket at the time of a claim. And I shouldn't even really say out of pocket, because when you have a claim, if we just talk about homeowners in particular, the higher deductible, the more skin you have in the game as far as what you're, what you're going to be subject to at the time of a claim. If the claim is covered under the policy, the insurance company will less the deductible out of your settlement. Quick tip number one, water backup coverage. What we want you to do is review your insurance policy and make sure you have adequate water backup coverage. Typically, water backup is when you have a backup of sewer and drains come up and have anything in the basement or wherever that drain may be destroyed. A lot of our policyholders, often think that they could carry a lower limit on that, but what they don't realize is if you even have something damaged, even a carpet damage down there, it's going to well exceed maybe $5,000. If you have a finished basement, again, consider a higher water backup limit.
So it's better for you because your actual rate is going to be lower?
And yet saying better for you, sometimes I have to be careful.
Right.
But yes, your rate will be lower the higher the deductible. So I always tell people, carry a higher deductible, what you feel comfortable doing, and then take the money you're saving in premium and put it in a deductible bank. Now, most people aren't going to do that. I recognize that. But it is an option to do. It's almost like an extra savings account.
What's a high deductible?
A high deductible, it would depend. Some people would depend. That would depend on the house, the replacement cost on the house. So if you have let's say a $250,000 replacement cost home, carrying maybe a $5,000 deductible may be a lot, maybe a high deductible for some folks.
Okay.
The most we see, generally speaking, for people in this day and age, and I say this day and age because years ago it was the norm was $500 deductible.
Yes, I remember that.
Now, most insurance companies, even at this time, require a minimum $1,000. So we see between $1,000 and $2,000 deductible.
All right, and $5,000 would be high. Okay, so rates, insurance rates, is it like are they all the same?
No, they're going to vary. They're going to vary depending on, and we get that from policyholders too or clients. Like, well, I live right next to Lou. Why isn't my rate the same as hers? And our house is pretty much the same. It's obviously it's the location of the home, but there are characteristics that are that you plug into this formula specific to Lou.
Right, like a 150-year-old house is what I have.
Correct. That's going to be what's the age of the roof? What has the wiring been updated? All of these things, plus any claims that have been on the home or that Lou has filed in the past.
Oh, really good question, because we have to ask people now. We say when we fill out a seller's disclosure, have you had any insurance claims? Sometimes they don't remember. So when the person buys the house, what happens when they buy insurance?
Well, we run reports. They're called a clue report, and it just pulls information both off of what they call the subject and the risk. The subject being the buyer, the risk being the property they're purchasing.
So
and
I'm actually part of the search too. So I'm buying this house, and you're looking into me, and you're looking into the house.
And some insurance companies will change your rate based off of, they will use that in their rating.
Okay.
Insurance quick tip number 2. This one is service line coverage. Just a few years ago, a lot of our insurance companies have put out a new endorsement, service line coverage endorsement. This is something we didn't have years ago, and something that's very important. A lot of times it's a lot less costly than purchasing some sort of service line coverage through your utility companies. So check in with your insurance agent so you can discuss the details of service line coverage.
This is kind of like a little rapid fire. I know we could go on and on about this, but I don't want it to go too long, so I have kind of like a ridiculous rapid fire for you.
Okay.
Do you want that?
Go for it.
So what kind of things are covered? That's what I'm going to ask you. So you just have to answer yes or no.
Okay.
And I know it's going to depend on the location of a house, and depend on, the kind of insurance. Sometimes it might be a rider, but a couple of them I have are if you have your power go out and all your food gets destroyed in your fridge. Is that covered?
There's there is some what they call food spoilage, but you have to look in your policy contract to make sure there is coverage for that.
For food.
The most I typically see on food spoilage is around $500.
Okay.
Again, generically speaking, you would have to look at your policy contract.
And now food is way more than $500. So
Yes.
Okay. What about like if it's really cold and your sewer lines burst in your house?
Well, typically anything anything that is occurring inside the home. So if you have your pipes burst and you have water damage that occurs inside the home, as long as you have insurance coverage, and that is, again, the adjuster, we have policy adjusters that go out. They are licensed adjusters that will say whether there's coverage or not, depending on one minute thing could change the whole outcome of the claim. But generally speaking, if you have a pipe burst and you have water damage, the water damage itself is covered, not the pipe.
Oh, so they're going to clean up the water, but they're not going to fix the pipe.
They're going. That would be at your expense.
What about, this is going to be odd, but what about like rodents, pests,
That's typically the number one thing within a policy that is excluded.
Excluded. So what about like a stampede?
A stampede? I have never had someone ask me about a stampede.
Well, we don't really live somewhere that could be a stampede.
But I would venture to say no coverage. I would venture to say that, again, always have to check
so
your
no wild
policy
animal?
contract. No. All right, insurance quick tip number 3, special personal property. We want to remind everyone that when you're onto your homeowner's insurance policy, you typically have replacement cost on contents if it's been endorsed, okay? But what you don't typically have, again, without an endorsement, is what we call special personal property. It is all risk coverage on your contents. So at the time of a claim, it is very advantageous to our policyholders to have that special personal property coverage. If you're unsure if you have it, please check in with your insurance agent or the insurance agency. We'd be happy to discuss it with you.
What about ID theft?
Oh, that's a big one. That is a big one, and that's even more important as we continue. Years ago, it started to become more important, but it is an endorsement, so you have to watch. Some insurance companies include identity theft within a package, and then others that you actually just endorse separately, ID theft. But it's not included automatically.
So it's a rider.
Yeah, you have to add it.
Is it expensive?
It's not that expensive. It just depends on the carrier and how much coverage you actually want.
Okay. So there's so many more questions I could ask her, but this has been so good today.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for talking to us.
Welcome.
Howard Hanna
Thanks,
Insurance Services. I have probably a list of 20 more questions I could ask, but we don't want this to go on and on. Thank you so much for watching.
You.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Lou.
Okay. So, Danielle, this was really great. I have to tell you that I learned so much today, and I thought I really knew a lot about insurance.
That's great.
You really gave me some great tips, and I'm going to be able to pass this on to my customers.
That's wonderful.
So, Howard Hanna Insurance is, they're right here, and they're with us, and it really makes it easier to help your clients.
And that's what we want. We appreciate everyone, and we appreciate the opportunity to help the clients.
Well, if you remember, I have this joke.
Yes.
Needing insurance is like needing a parachute. If you don't have it the first time, you're not going to need it again.
That's right. That's right.